All right, welcome everybody to Friends with Backlog. Name is pending changes, possibly because one out of three people don't agree with it, but we'll see what happens with it. My mic is raised a little bit, so maybe it's a little bit higher and a little bit louder for everyone, and I can kind of compare, or I'll just turn you guys down so I can overpower you. So this is just every Wednesday, me and my friend Cammy and my friend Orpheon, which we may slip up and say other names and everything because we've gone by lots of different names over the last decade or so, have been just kind of talking about video games in general, what we've been doing, trying to keep up with each other, because it's lonely as shit in quarantine. And I miss my friends and I wanted to talk to them, and so this was a good excuse to get together and play video games and discuss them. But yeah, so just no more further ado stuff, anything here. Let's just go ahead and go with Orpheon. Tell everybody who you are.
My name is Orpheon, and I'm a gamer. I have a huge backlog, and in quarantine, I have been able to tackle an enormous section of it, which is what spawned a lot of this. And I have a question mark.
Yes.
Is your mic have a mask on so it doesn't get COVID?
Yeah. It was
For
a
me,
mask.
it looks like it's like.
So I was doing stupid YouTube videos for a little bit, and I noticed there's pops in it. I was like, I don't have anything around that could really stop that. And I was like, there's a mask. I just wrapped it around it because we have masks and everything, tons of them, and this is a very flimsy one. And I figured it would work as a pop filter for right now, and I never took it off. And I figured it'd be a nice icebreaker for anyone asking me about it. So, yeah.
Cool. I like it.
All right. And the other person with me is Cammy. Cammy, tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, I'm Cammy. I play video games, and I'm just hanging out with these guys. Really, just having a good time.
Yeah. All right. That's good. You know what? That's perfect. That's exactly what we needed here. Guys who are playing video games and just wanting to hang out and talk about video games. A lot of people might be like, who the fuck are these two people? Because they've never seen them or heard of them. Funny enough, they've been on Mog Talk before. Both of you have.
Oh, yeah, we did.
A live episode.
We did the live Comic-Con episode.
Yep. We were at Comic-Con.
That was good.
Carrara in chat, which is Cheryl, by the way, said she gave me the mask for emergencies only. This is an emergency. Sound not being correct is an emergency. So,
yeah. I think it works.
We actually met because of video games too. We all met in World of Warcraft.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah. We met when was that? That was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
For sure. It was like 2007 or 8. Like when we were running WoW. We were. So we had 2 guilds that didn't have enough to run Kara, which was hilarious considering it was only a 10-man raid.
Yeah.
And we kind of joined forces, and then you were tanking it, and you were a little gnome that I will still always remember you dying on the chess match at the end of it being one of the funniest things I've ever seen in WoW. This little gnome,
Hey, look, I tried, man.
It was so pitiful. It was great, but so we became friends with during WoW way back in the day.
Way back then, and then it was. I don't know. We hung out, and we would talk on voice chat sometimes. I still remember the RAF voice chats late at night that we would have, and it was good times. And so that's why we wanted to get together and do this. And I was just going to call the podcast just voice chat because I was like, that's pretty good. But I guess it's too plain and boring.
So there is one big thing why we started doing this was that we all finished Last of Us 2, and talking through chat. Through text was not going to cut it.
Yeah.
I almost debate if we called this The Last of Us 2.
Post Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Last of Us 2 brought us together.
Yeah.
They were like, we need to get on a call.
That's your debate right now. Can I keep playing video games and top Last of Us 2 for the rest of the year?
I know.
That set a precedent for that game has molded us talking in every way so far.
It has.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
So
Go ahead.
I have actually, okay, this relates to something I had today. Speaking of Last of Us and Naughty Dog, right? So Naughty Dog, obviously one of the best studios in the world making games.
Okay.
I have never played Uncharted. Have
right.
either of you played
No.
Uncharted?
Yes. I played the
Which
first
what
one.
did you think
I've
of
been
it?
through the first, second. I did not finish the third or fourth one, I think. I might have finished the third one. I don't know for sure.
So I added to my backlog today because
Okay.
I was looking at it and I went ahead and bought the Uncharted collection and then Uncharted 4. I mean, the games aren't long, right? They take like 7 to 10 hours each.
Yeah.
So those will get added to the backlog because, like, with how much I respect Naughty Dog and their design philosophies and the way that they iterate for control, like levels, I'm like, I just need to try this. So
Okay.
it's yeah. So I went ahead and ordered it today, and it might suck. And I was trying to read reviews what people like about it, and I have a coworker who I'm surprised I didn't find out he was a gamer, and he's played everything. And I jokingly said, "What's your backlog today?" And he goes, I don't have one. This is what sucks. I'm like, shit, you're the only gamer I know who doesn't have a huge backlog. He's like, yep. And he was surprised I didn't start it.
Maybe he just hasn't realized what's in his backlog yet. I think that's it. Like, he saw a game, and he probably enjoy it, but he never started playing it.
I gave him a couple games today, so he's now stuck. So he's he's like, Return of Oberdin. I'd never heard of that. I'm like, oh, you need to go play that right now.
Yeah.
So,
you know, after a while,
I'm
that music was the bass on it was getting a little bit much. I don't know what it was. I loved the game, but just like that music was just, for someone who wasn't watching it, was kind of rough.
Speaking of music that got on my nerves, can we talk about Baba Is You?
I turned off the music and listened to Nine Inch Nails like most of the time. After the first like 10, 15 minutes, I was like, I can't do more of this repetitiveness.
So I gotta ask, did you guys finish that game?
We both kind of finished it.
Did you beat it, Nick?
Yeah, I did it the same way I think you did.
Yeah, we got the fake ending.
I did not finish it at all.
I know. Last time I checked, you played the game for 20 minutes. Did you play it more than that?
I did. I played it at least an hour or two. An hour or two.
Okay.
And I figured that's all I really needed. Maybe it gets more in depth and crazy. I'm sure the rules get a little bit more, I don't know, interesting. But like there's not much to like the story. I guess I'm not like losing anything. Like there's nothing you can really spoil me about in the game. So I figured it didn't really.
Well,
matter.
after just playing it for like a short bit, what do you think the story is? Do you have any idea?
That you're a little Baba running around trying to solve puzzles. I mean, I'm Baba, as the game tells me, unless if I'm Flag or Wall or whatever else I may be. I figured that was just the concept of the game, is that you just change it in this logical I don't know, programmatic. What's the right? I don't know what the right word is, but
it's 100%. It's using programmatic language to create the rules to solve the problem.
Right.
You're just using binary logical operators.
I figured that was all the game was. I mean, I wasn't introduced to a story. I was introduced, I am a little character solving puzzles, and that was it. So is there a story to it?
So when I beat it, it seemed like it was leaning towards a goal of pollinating the island in a way, because you're collecting like little dandelions and you're blooming flowers and things like that. And when you beat the game, it kind of spreads that across the whole map. So I don't know if there's a further story to that. I actually haven't looked that part up. I wanted to play more of it, so it kind of evolved as I was playing it. But the game is very. I think I talked to Brian a little bit about this. I think it's very. You don't want to play all of it in one day. You want to like take this in breaks, and every once in a while go back and play a little bit of it here and there. But when you play it over and over, it's too much. It's the same thing.
It's a little frustrating, yeah. To me, even playing it for an hour, I was just like, I'm kind of done. Like the music you said was getting kind of much for me. But like going through it, I was like, all right, well, I just have to figure out how I move this around. Do I need to reset the puzzle? I'm like, do I really want to do a puzzle right now? And if I don't, then why am I playing it at the moment? So I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's a good game. It's just I wasn't in the mood.
It's incredibly clever. Like so It's funny you say the first hour. I think I played 6 or 7 total hours of it, and 5 of that surprised me because at around the hour and a half mark, I was kind of like, I don't really like this game. I'm not gonna lie. Like, from the beginning, incredibly clever, really smart, like execution, like the design is just very unique. You're like, this is a special game. But the way that some of the rules were being structured, honestly, part of me is like, I feel like I'm stupid. Like, I don't know why certain things weren't clicking with me. And then I would solve it. And instead of having that moment where you solve it and you sort of feel like a genius, you're like, I figured it out. Yeah. I would solve it and I'd be like, I don't know, man.
It's just like, kind of like aha moments.
It's still terrible.
You know, to me, it didn't feel like...
it was about So the whole, did you complete the first flower area?
I completed the first area before it moved to a different area. Like there was like 7 or 8 something in a lake, and then it moved on to another one.
Well, did you complete it where your little flower turned into a big flower, where you've like fully completed the area, including the meta levels that popped up?
I don't think you did because you don't have an achievement for it.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, so somewhere in there was where something clicked, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what it was. This game just became like instantly easier. And then I started blowing through 2 and 3. There was a level that really pissed me off, which, by the way, I've gone back in. I don't know. Have you guys ever checked out the YouTube channel, Game Maker's Notebook?
No.
Or Game Maker's Toolkit. Game Maker's Toolkit.
No.
It's a fantastic channel. And he basically takes, he'll break down one concept. I actually just found him because, of course, I watch everything Last of Us. And he broke down, he had an interview with the guy who designed the level, the Last of Us 2 level, the museum. And so and they have some concepts like the way that their design philosophy, how they...
The
one with the dinosaur museum where, like, Ellie's birthday. And it's just really, so it's a really... They're really well produced. He has very interesting arguments, and his videos are never more than 15 minutes, so he never rambles. And anyways, he has a thing on Bobby's You, and they were talking about some of the levels, and I've seen the complaints. The level I got so pissed on that after because there's a level where I'm straight up like, there are 3 things to do. I cannot solve this. I don't fucking understand how this is gonna work. Because you can only do 3 things. It's like, I don't get it. There's nothing complex about it. So I finally looked at the answer and I'm like, you have to break the rule. But I found out like the toolkit guy made fun of it, and other critiques all talk about that same level as being a really structured problem, because you actually have to think outside the rules of the rules already internal to what they've taught you in a way that, if you came across it on your own, you're going to walk out thinking, I'm the smartest motherfucker in the world. But the logic to the game really like doesn't work. Anyways, it pissed me off.
Okay.
And I was like,
So I did that level on my own, but I did not think I was the smartest person in the world. But I do
That's
think
because you're like humble and a nice guy, so you do that.
Yeah, we're not, I guess, you know.
Brian has a good point. So this game sets it apart from lots of other puzzle games that I've played. Where so it won like 2018 best design for IGF awards. So it's really unique, wonderful. But a lot, and I've played a lot of puzzles after that. I've done quite a bit in the game so far, and I think I'm taking it really slow. But you do a lot of these levels. You really have to kind of break the logic in the game to be able to push forward. And it's that first level that Brian was talking about that you kind of learn, I can like kind of manipulate the logic in this, and I need to look out for that in the future. And I like that a little bit, but I also I would rather things be kind of natural and intuitive instead of forcing you to break the logic to be able to solve a puzzle. It feels like I feel less accomplished doing that, honestly. Than if like playing the witness, things are really, everything is about understanding the environment, and when you understand that, you can do everything. You just have to get to that point where you can understand it, and this game was not quite there. Even like I don't think either of you, have you played Talos Principle?
Which one?
I haven't. No.
Talos Principle.
No, not yet, but I've seen it.
So that game is somewhat similar to this concept where there are tons of different ways you can complete each area. And you don't have to, but you can completely break the game to beat areas if you want to. There's just that much flexibility within the design. And I think Baba had a lot of that in there too. But I did like how all the logical connectors worked, and I liked like kind of
Yeah.
analyzing everything. But it is really easy to get stuck on levels.
Well, I may not
Yeah, the
continue playing it. I don't know. I don't really have the urge to play it. I feel like I have a responsibility to Ghost of Tsushima to go back and play that more than I have Baba Azure. And I also have, so there's games I want to play because I want to play them, and there's games that I'm like, I'm just in the mood to do this. For example, like Valorant, I'm just in the mood to just play a game and shoot people, and I don't want to feel like I'm forced to play a game, and so I'll ended up spending time on that. Or I'm in Final Fantasy and I want to do my raids, right? And so that pushes so much of that time that I have to play Tsushima, and I feel bad. But at the same time, it's not that big of a deal. I can take a while. I'll be done by Christmas.
So this gets to so talking about backlog, what you're doing is constantly adjudicating your time to respect and handle how you feel about your backlog, right? Because that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Right?
It's trying to complete the backlog in some way and discuss it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So and me being like kind of obsessive about lists a little bit, I kind of want to go through every system and find every game that I haven't played that I want to, and just create a master backlog for myself. But I think that's a little time consuming.
Like, there's a lot of games, like, for example, Spider-Man. I need to go back and play that. I want to play Red Dead Redemption because I heard good things about it. I want to play Death Stranding. You know, there's so many of these games that take a while that I really want to play. But I just don't know when I'm ever going to get to it.
Death Stranding's the only one on my backlog that I think might get scratched.
Really?
Because I don't know anyone who's played it that hasn't told me you have to suffer for like 10 to 20 hours before you're going to get to a game that you're going to like. And I'm like, that's a long time.
I don't know. I didn't hear all of that. I heard there were a lot of people who just liked it.
Well, because once people get through it, they love it, right? Because it sinks in. Because there's a pacing to it that's really slow that I think chased a ton of people. But so Baldur's Gate, right? So Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out, and I went back and played Baldur's Gate 1, which came out in 98. And I have not played it since I played on PC then. And I tried it like 5 years ago, and I couldn't play it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how this game was ever playable. Right. You know, the way you click, move your characters and slow, I was like, this sucks. So last year I was like, fuck this. I'm going to sit down and sort of force myself to play it. And yeah, it was rough for about 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4. And then you just got in the zone, and it was like, the whole time I didn't like it was dumb. This is incredible. This is now I'm totally into it, you know. And sometimes, right, I think we're always sometimes dealing with a game that we think we want or we don't realize we're enjoying until we need to be patient and especially a lot of classic games, right? All right, here's a fair question. Name a classic game you legitimately think is a bad game. I mean, this is super impromptu. We didn't prep for this.
Well, I would say Final Fantasy VII gets kind of close there. The old one, it doesn't unless if you mod it, it doesn't play very well. It's hard to see, and it's the battle system. The random battles get kind of old now to us. It gets a little.
So I will say, when I played the FF7 the remake, not the fucking remake's not the right word. What they did for the Switch when they redid it. What's the word we're looking for? Not in reboot. They just remade it in like the HD version. Yeah. That I thought was wonderful, right? Because there's the old school mechanics of the battling systems. You can just do the 3 times auto limit break, and you can just plow through trash bosses, which most games have got rid of that. A lot of like when Nick and we talked about, was it when you bought FF7 for this?
I bought it for PlayStation 2, or I think it was 3 actually.
Yeah,
it was on sale for 3. It was not playable.
Yeah. So when I played this one, the way that they had mapped, I was actually now I was more impressed with the design of the maps and the layouts. I was like, shit, some of this is really, really, really pretty. It looks really weird with the really like lo-fi polygons.
Yeah.
But it was still easy to navigate. I didn't find it difficult to navigate, and I'm like, you know what, this is sitting in an old system that does make it kind of hard, but we were pretty good at the time because we were more forgiving, we could handle it, etc. We were more patient.
Well, I mean, the whole concept of RPGs was developing at that time, and that was more than standard or acceptable back then. That was just what
absolutely.
games were.
Well, and that was also the transfer to PlayStation, where every studio decided we need to go 3D.
Yeah.
Even if your hardware is not good for it, we don't care. We need to figure it out, and that's why that was a growing pain.
I did. So when I played it the first 100% time,
100% the awkward phase.
It was perfectly fine when I played it the first time. I knew I could see where my character was. I didn't feel like there was any issues knowing where I was. But when you go back, it was tough.
No, it's
well, there's also the other thing. That's okay. There's also something none of us keep forgetting. Those games were designed for CRT monitors.
Right. Yeah.
None of us play anything on a CRT monitor, and it's like we forget how important that is. Actually, that's not true. My coworker has two 40-inch, 34-inch CRT monitors just for his gaming section, and he will like scour Craigslist to find people who dump off good CRTs. I mean, he's a crazy person, but
okay.
He's like, it's the only way to play old school games. You just can't emulate it the way that they were designed. Like the pixel width for like the original, like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, were designed to match the way that the games would stretch on a CRT. So when the game would be displayed, pixels in the middle would stretch more than the ones on the side because they knew it was mapping. They were designed to stretch perfectly, which is why they would look so good. And when you emulate them now, they can simulate it, but it's not as good until you see it. So you're like, oh, that was actually pretty good. Just the hardware was so difficult. So
I'll accept that.
To me, with FF7, it wasn't just, at least when I played it on the PS3, I thought it was unplayable because the contrast between the background, which was going for this like photorealism, was so stark in comparison to these like 3D characters that were moving around. It was just, it brought you so out of the game to see these like caricatures of something in the environment that you're interacting with. It was, I don't know. I didn't
like
really
when you were summoning when you were summoning gods out of the sky, you're like, this is emerging.
Yeah, that's fine. But you know, honestly, when FF7 originally came out, I remember watching trailers on TV for that, and it was like just a few cinemas and like the train moving and stuff. And I remember thinking this could be like a movie. It looks so good.
Yeah.
And I still think some of the cinemas stand up a little bit.
Do you know who thought that? Square. That's why they made Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Yeah. You guys remember? Yeah, I remember that movie. I went to see that movie. I don't think a lot of people like that movie. I haven't seen it since that first time when I was very young in a theater watching that movie.
Me neither. We saw it opening night in the theater, and all I remember now is that Tucson was a wasteland. It's like, yeah, I didn't have it. Actually, that's a cheap shot. I actually really like Tucson, but I was like, wow, of all the cities in the world to choose, you chose Tucson.
It's pretty trashy, but you know, it's all right.
It got a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how much I trust Rotten Tomatoes, but it be that what it may.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like maybe we should do homework sometime this quarantine. Pull up Spirits Within.
Yeah, we could do a show on watching the Spirits Within and do a review on it. Kind of a cross between with your other idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to go back, Brian. You made a comment that I wanted to touch on a little bit. You're talking about Death Stranding. I don't really know a lot about the game, honestly. Actually, I was just looking at the wiki. I did not know that Guillermo del Toro was made a character. That's kind of cool. But
I know.
What I was really
I know the game is jokingly called the Walking Simulator, and I'm like, I don't know. That's fairly pejorative, I think, until you're ready to walk a lot.
So this game is about some type of infectious whatever, and they said that there's similarities between that and COVID-19. But what I was really thinking about was, wow, like how many games have I played since quarantine that had some type of COVID like plot in it? Like, I think at least like 4 or 5 games that I've played since had some type of infection, or even like Talos Principle is about like an infection that goes around and kills everybody, and these are the remnants of it. There's something like that in Spider-Man. There's something like that in The Last of Us.
Of course.
There's something like this in Hollow Knight. It's like I don't know
Yeah.
if this is just like such a common theme or it's just a coincidence that I happen to be
Well, I
playing
mean,
it during
I think
COVID.
it was a common concept or idea of like Armageddon like situations. It's everyone gets sick or
Yeah.
some disease takes over, and so it's a pretty to set a world and like kind of an abandoned world. It's because of some illness or something that
Yeah.
killed people but didn't destroy the structures completely, right? I think that's kind of
I
the
guess
idea.
Was it? Yeah. Well, and my first quarantine game was Resident Evil 1 HD remaster, and of course that's disease. Yeah, because then it went to Spider-Man and Last of Us 2, and it was like every game I play is about disease some way or the other.
I don't know. I
And
mean,
quarantine.
it's the right thing to talk about right now, and it's I think
It
we're gonna
feels
see a lot of
cathartic.
it actually.
I'm not gonna lie.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay.
And then especially,
Hmm?
yeah. Well, and especially with our local region, like with Last of Us, you're like, oh, it just feels like we're all fucked. Yep. Like, God.
I don't know
just
how
wish
people are so
around us
stupid.
care. They
Yeah.
just don't care.
And bringing it back, I thought Baba Is You, obviously about some infectious disease that destroyed the island, and you're just trying to repollinate it.
Oh, is it?
I mean, it's really just, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I don't know. I'm glad I played it. It was interesting. It's like one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like a cool little concept, but it's not one of those things that I think I would spend a lot of time in. Like for example, there was another little small game, but I wanted to play through it. It was kind of just a little puzzle game. What was the Thomas was alone? Was that the game?
I played that. I played the crap out of that
Thomas
game.
was alone.
Yeah, and that was like a little puzzle game,
that's
simple.
That's an all-time game.
Yeah. But I wanted to play through all of it. I didn't want to stop playing it because the narration was good on it, and just like the whole way it was designed, it pushed you to go forward. This one was just like puzzle after puzzle after puzzle after puzzle.
Thomas Is You didn't
I
push you in any way. It didn't like push you beyond like limits that you knew were there. It always was very careful in making the puzzles just appropriate enough for you to play and have a good time while you're listening to the narration and tell a story.
Right.
I like that you said it's Thomas's eunuch. He totally.
Oh, Thomas was alone.
Thomas is you. Loved it.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do like those kind of games. I don't know. It is part of what you were talking about last week too, about The Last of Us kind of ruining a lot of games. It makes me want to expect good or interesting story that would captivate me in a game. And so if I don't have that story to keep me in there, it's like, why do I'm not urged to play more, at least with solo games.
Yeah, and this feels like it's the kind of game. Well, sometimes, right, we're now at a stage in the development of games that we have a whole range of things we can play, right? You're like, I want to play a mindless shooter. They got those.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play something with actually a deep, meaningful story. We got those. We got simple puzzlers. We've got, you know what I mean? There's this whole range of stuff. And so with my take on Bob Is You, I'm so happy I played it, right? I mean, it's been on my backlog for like a year, and I've always been hearing about, finally get to play it. Do I want to keep playing it? And actually, it was partly with you. I'm like, this is a pure puzzler. Like, comparing it to The Witness, I loved how in The Witness I felt like I was constantly exploring something, and I was learning about just kind of the island, and there's ideas in it that pop out that I enjoyed. But this is still a game I would recommend to anyone. It's like, do you like puzzlers? Give this a shot.
Yeah.
Like, this is an absolute must to recommend to someone who likes puzzlers. You may not like it, but you're probably not going to be pissed that you spent money on it.
Exactly.
And then if you like it, this is a game. If you like it, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're in a mood for doing puzzles, you would love this game. It's a wonderful puzzle.
I told Nick that, like, this is one of those kind of like a late night. Obviously, no, I don't say mindless because it's literally the most opposite form of mindless. But I can only play for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I just want to sit down and play. And it's like the way people that like doing math problems. They just sit down and do a math problem. You're like, it's kind of like that. Sit down, solve something real quick, walk away. But it's not.
I guess there's people out there who do math problems for fun. You're right.
We have one.
I am one of them.
Are you?
Yeah, Nick is literally one of them. Yeah.
I did not know that, actually.
Well, I mean, my degree's in math, so
yeah.
that helps out a little bit. But I do enjoy looking through past books that I have, and math and different kinds of mathematicians and like looking up proofs and trying to figure them out myself and stuff. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I used to really enjoy it. And that's probably one of the reasons why I like puzzlers so much, is because I like the investigation and like I like the thought and that goes into all of the logic that's developing these puzzles. And I sometimes, and I don't want to ruin too much about kind of how I feel about Witness, because I really want both of you to play the Witness.
I want to play it. I do want to play it.
Hey, I played 60% of it.
I like how the games, the physics kind of starts to tell a story if you can see it there. And you can also not. You can completely ignore it and just take it for a puzzler. But if you want to go a different direction and really start to see maybe what the author was trying to talk about, you have that opportunity.
You can see why that game was in development for 7 years? Yeah. Because like they iterated it and had a working game for like 2011, 2012. It was really early. And you're like, why did this take 5 years to get ready? And you're like, he polished the shit out of it. Like
the graphics aren't anything to like. It's not great. It's okay. It does what it's supposed to. Well,
actually, what's interesting about those graphics, they were higher scale in the beginning, and somewhere, because I remember I used to read that damn blog post, like the developmental blog on the Witness every day, but they had a post about it. At some point, they realized the realism they were going, not realism, the level of fidelity they were going for wasn't adding to it, and so they descaled it down and kind of made it sharper, and they were like, wow, we really like the way this unifies the whole entire island. And so then they're like, well, now we have to redo every asset on the island.
Okay. But I'll keep that in mind. So it is a puzzler though, so like I would have to kind of be in the mood to do puzzles. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But it's very different it's very different. So Mark, there are many different kinds of puzzles you can do throughout the island. It's like first person, you're scoring up and then you solve the puzzle. Yeah. But they're all different kinds of puzzles. So you'll quickly find like, oh, this is a section where I have level 1. I'm going to call it level 1, but it's like puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3, puzzle 4 as you're solving it. But if you get to 4 and you don't like 5, you're like, fuck it. I hate this. Just leave. And you can go to another part of the island and find other problems to solve. So you're not just stuck solving the same kinds of things.
Okay.
Similar, but not the same.
Did you guys ever play Portal?
No, that's on my backlog.
You played one? Did you play 1 or 2?
1. Portal 2 is the one I feel bad for never completing.
You should play it. But I mean, if you guys like puzzlers, I mean, it's like one of the what do you call them? Like the
No, it's an
iconic puzzlers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like when I remember I first saw that game was designed, I was like, oh, this is one of the best design ideas that is in game history. Like, this is incredible. And in fact, I think it's so special and unique why you've never seen it in hardly any other games is because they're like, well, it's a little too poorly. Like they really own that space.
So it's in Stanley Parable for like a half second as a part of
it is.
Just as an homage to it. I really do want to play Portal. One more comment on The Witness. Sure. It is my favorite game, so I'm going to be biased on it, regardless of what we talk about.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, if you like it, you like it. I haven't seen enough on it. I've just heard enough to make me want to play it. So I can't really comment too much on it. But I guess it sounds like it would be a little bit of a scary game. Is it like, does it have horror aspects at all?
Oh no. The color palette is very bright. It's like Simpsons. It's like Simpson colors.
Oh,
like Simpson color palette.
I mean it not necessarily depending on where you are, but the base of the island is very bright. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not scary at all. You're alone on this island.
I mean, that's scary, right?
It's if anything, it's more spiritual than scary.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're scared of having a spiritual moment, then I'd be careful.
I am. It's terrifying.
Have you played Proteus?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
It's not exactly that type of feeling, but I would say as far as like color palette and just like you can go on this island and just relax if you want to. You don't have to do any puzzles or anything.
Oh, okay.
In fact,
to be honest, I I've played that game for hours, and I don't think I've ever solved anything on it. Every time I've played Proteus, I've got on the island, and I just kind of wander around. And when I log off, I'm like, that was a great experience.
Yeah.
and like, I didn't do anything. I've even joked, I was like, is there actually a game secretly hidden in here that I just am not aware of?
It's not much of a game at all. It's so basic. You just live through 4 seasons, and you can go to each season by finding like a pool of like circling leaves and just stand in it, and it just brings you to like winter and spring and summer and stuff. And you can just experience it if you want. Do whatever. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's going to be far. Unless how long does a witness take? It takes like 10 hours?
I've probably spent over 50 hours easily
50?
playing that game. But
no. Okay. This is going to be like Mario Odyssey, right? There are, how many total moons are in Mario Odyssey? 700, 550?
Yeah, I don't even remember. It's over 700.
But like, you only need 225 to beat the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the witness is like that. Like, you only need so much to get through the game to get a really full, meaningful experience. But if you want to then go deep and solve and find all the random puzzles, there are puzzles that used to, like, where you get to a point, you start seeing puzzles that you didn't realize actually were puzzles, but they were structured in the game. You just have to learn. It's kind of like, just 3D eye tests, where like they put the 3D thing and all of a sudden you look at it and boom, like a dolphin pops out. Like, It's like that, where which when you see the way they've solved puzzles, you'll see like, that's because they don't make sense according to the way that a normal person when you first approach the game. But once you keep playing it long enough, you won't even realize, like, when you're at this angle, it's a tree and a stump and then a thing. You're like, oh god, that's like, you have to be in the right angle, and then you realize, that's because normally what the game is, you come up to like kind of like almost like an iPad, and an iPad will kind of it'll pop up and there'll just be like dots on it, and you have to circle the dots and solve the little puzzle. So it's an obvious, like, you're showing up solving a puzzle. The meta world puzzles that start popping out are like this, like, next level, like, you've hit like a higher plane of existence. You're like, holy shit, those are puzzles. And it's limited. But that's the kind of stuff you do for people who want to dive deep.
Okay.
And there's more. You can get by doing so much less. So there's like, I want to say, if you want to get to the end of the game, there's like 11 areas that have these lasers on them, and you really only need to complete, I want to say 5 or 6 areas, I think, to get to the end of the game. But you can do it. You can find, and that's learning that stuff in the environment. But you can go to these other environments to learn how these puzzles and this logic interacts in those environments. And then you have what Brian's talking about. You want to take it to another level, you can do these environmental puzzles that are kind of everywhere. And then if you want to take that to another level, there's all these little recordings that are placed out through all the island, and if you listen to those, you could try to piece together kind of what's really going on in the back of all of this and why you're experiencing this the way you are. And that's what I really like, is all these different layers. Plus, like, everything on the island is, even if it isn't a puzzle, it's there on purpose. Like, every tree is there because Jonathan Blow, because he wanted it there. Like, you look at something in a very different angle, and it'll be like a pile of wood, and then you'll just turn a little bit, and it's like a guy making a fire out of 2 sticks. Like, everything's just about perspective, and even if you don't want to complete a puzzle, you could just go around and kind of just take in everything.
Okay. But it sounds like something I have to kind of dedicate my time to go through it. It's not like quick, like I play it real quick and I'm done. Like, you have to spend some time on it.
You probably can, actually. Like, it can be, if you're just like running through and finding puzzles and solving them, it's not that long.
Okay.
And then the fun thing to do is, if when you beat it, so you don't ruin anything, go and look at the speed run for it. It's insane. People are so. I'll just leave it at that. But like, I was really surprised, and I watch a lot of speed runs. I was really surprised to see how they did.
Do you watch a lot of speed runs outside of Games Done Quick?
Okay, maybe not a lot.
Okay.
Maybe just Games Done Quick. I do every once in a while look up some speed runs for some games if I'm interested.
I saw, because of playing Bob Is You, like, immediately my YouTube feed pop up was like, Bob Is You speedrun. I was like, no.
Yeah. So when is Games? It's happening soon, right?
Like on the 6th. on the 16th, I think. So it's
Is it 16th?
Sunday. Yeah, the Sunday 16th. It starts.
It's gonna be a little bit weird because I mean a lot of the aspect is seeing all the people in the background and everyone kind of
It
together,
is.
so it kind of sucks.
But for like, right, it's not going to be the same. But for having a production of people who are already used to being online streaming on a channel, and right, they can have like headquarters be normal. Like, all right, we're going to swing to Mark, and let me just throw it over, and then he's ready to go, and they can just keep, because they're already used to doing that shit anyway, and then they can just throw it over.
Right.
I think this is going to be easier for the people doing this than like Major League Baseball trying to handle new quarantine stuff. Like they're like, we don't know what to do. It's like for anyone handling this, like I think these guys, gamers are problem solvers. They'll figure this one out.
Yeah.
And they'll be awkward, which it'll be great. They'll never get rid of the awkward. They're trying so hard, but they just can't.
I don't know if they try to get rid of it. I think they embrace it. I'm pretty sure it's embraced at this point.
I think you forget how awkward some of the early like interview stuff was, like in 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
Oh, they're definitely better with interviews.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was so bad. God, I loved it. Just loved it.
Well, we'll see.
But the audience is awkward. The audience, like, we won't see dancing dad or whatever they call him, just a dude who just dances for 24/7 in the background.
He's like, I just want to know what kind of like where he gets his speed, because he's there all day. He doesn't sleep, and he dances constantly. You're like,
well,
this isn't a
caffeine.
caffeine.
Do it in the breaks, right? So like, if he's gonna sleep,
it's still
let's do a 7-hour run of some game. Okay, it's time to sleep. And so he goes to sleep, and he comes back, and a couple of cups of coffee, and he's back to doing his air drums for like.
I don't.
Hours.
Right, that's right. Air drums.
Yeah.
I don't think he does caffeine. He's got to be on something more.
Something a little bit more hard.
Yeah. So it's funny. I kind of like that he does that, but it also kind of irritates me. But
I mean, I get irritated by the attention grabby stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, to be honest, I've kind of gotten used to it a little bit too, because that's what Twitch is. It's just like. a lot of attention grabby stuff. I mean, it's not all Twitch, but I mean, it's pretty sad. A lot of people who are learning, they're like, I want to stream and I want to do stuff. How do I grow? Oh, I do attention grabby stuff, and it's hard.
Well, you have to when you
don't have to, but I mean, it has results in comparison to other stuff. It's something tangible you can see. Yeah. If I'm ridiculous, then I get more people watching because I'm being ridiculous. You don't see that.
Well, right. What is it? You have two kinds of Twitch streamers. You have professional gamers who are very good at what they do, and they might be boring, but they're really good at what they do.
Right.
And then you have the inverse of, you better be an interesting personality. So if I'm going to tune in and watch you, I have to be interested in what you're doing, even if you suck at whatever we're doing. So you have to be, ideally it'll be a little bit of both. But there was like a couple Twitch streamers who were the pros, and you're like, oh, these were so boring, but you're just watching because they're better than, almost everyone on Earth.
The thing is, I think what a lot of people, especially getting into streaming, don't realize is that there's a range of what you can do to be interesting, and you don't have to try to get the most people as possible by doing the cringiest thing that gets the most people.
For sure.
You can be something else that you're more comfortable being and get people following and watching you. But I'm also under the concept that I don't think anyone should pursue streaming as a profession unless if you're just really, really lucky in some way, or it just works out for you, because it ruins a lot of people's lives. But some people do succeed with it. But
well, even the people who have become successful, it does. So there's like two rules, right? They'll tell you if you're going to be successful, you have to be on all the time because you have to have that consistency.
Sure.
And then the mental toll that it causes on you to do that every day. I mean, how many people have just had complete mental breakdowns or Twitch streamer suicides who were successful? That's what's nuts. And then you get the attention, you get the following that you were looking for. So now maybe you're making a living, but then you have to deal with all the bullshit of now you have more of attention. So depending on who you are, you have to deal with insults and bullying and all that crap. And then you have to start you know what I mean? It's just like, it's never, I make it. Oh, now it's good.
Most people who make a living are making less or close to minimum wage. and barely making it by,
Oh,
but they make enough to
and
make
you
it
can-
by that they just keep doing it.
Oh yeah.
And so it's sad. It is, but
And you can tell by the state of usually if they're like their apartments or their bedrooms are streaming from, and it's like,
well, most of it's just
I-
drop Christmas lights and stuff. So it's fine. That's typical.
I'm like, I'd expect you to have a nicer bedroom for having 50, like 100,000 followers. This is pretty ghetto.
Anyways, video game wise,
No,
So I did have
I think it's hard.
something that I wanted to talk about earlier when we were talking about Baba.
yeah.
I want to talk about like the what you guys think about the ethics of cheating on video games. And I know my personal, I am completely okay with other people doing it. I think that there comes a time where you need to.
Are you trying to call out Orpheon here for him looking
No,
up his
no,
thing?
no,
Is that
not at
what
all.
you're doing
In
right
fact,
now?
I think that some of these communities that like you help each other out with games. I
Yeah,
think that's really
okay.
cool.
Mhm.
I wish that I could take part in those things because I feel like I'll beat myself up if I can't figure something out, and I'm gonna just play it until I do. And I can't like look up a solution to something. I would rather put the game down and walk away than do that. And that's just it's like a personal battle I need to get over.
So I've
But,
have a big opinion on this. If is that all?
Yeah.
That's the question, right? Or was there more?
yeah.
Sorry.
No. I just want your guys' opinion on it.
So, in general, I do not want to look up anything. I don't ever really want to. I want to keep trying to figure out myself because it feels good to figure out stuff yourself and to beat stuff, yourself and just go through the whole process. There have been moments where I've spent like 30 minutes thinking there's something here and I'm just missing it and I don't know what it is. And I look it up and realize it was something completely stupid that I just overlooked and I don't feel bad about it. The second thing to that is I've been in situations where I played a video game and I couldn't figure out how to go forward. And I spent so much time to figure it out to realize I should have just restarted the game because it was bugged. And so there's been a couple of situations where I break, but for the most part, yeah. I have to tell myself it's okay to break because if I don't, then I'll hit those situations where I just waste hours. But
Yeah, so obviously cheating in any kind of multiplayer game, if you cheat in a multiplayer game and create an unfair advantage, you should be thrown a volcano. Bullshit for everyone involved.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Which is why I sometimes don't want to call it, I guess it is cheating, but hint, look up. My philosophy is always just do whatever the hell you feel comfortable with and try to find your own personal limits where you're not going to take away from your satisfaction. So I made a rule with Baba Is You. If I was looking at something for 20 minutes and it got to the point where I was just angry as hell, I make two choices. You walk away and you cool off and think, do something else so your brain can still solve the problem, like when you're not paying attention to it, and then come back to it. Or I would just screw it. I would look it up. And I would also get to this point where I don't conceivably understand how this, we solve a lot of problems. That's what I do for a living. I don't conceivably understand what the answer could be. So for the one I looked at Bob Is You and I saw the answer, I was mad about it because I'm like, well, I wouldn't have got that one. That's fine. We're good. But then there's the inverse. I just had this conversation with a coworker and he was playing The Witness of all things and started looking up stuff. And then he got too used to it and he realized it killed the game for me. So am I for it? Yes. Now, I'm not for it if someone's going to look up answers and then be bragging about how awesome they were. I fucking beat Bob As You in 2 hours. I'm the best. And you're like, it turns out you looked up half of them. That's just falls in the line. You can grow up to be whatever you want to be. Just don't be an asshole. That makes you an asshole.
Yeah. I will say this much. If it's a single player game, I don't care what people do. I mean, if they're going to enjoy it, if they're going to do whatever they want, then they can just do whatever.
Figure out a way so that you don't destroy your own enjoyment. Do you remember people way back in the day would take different GTA games and they would get mods? And I had friends who would take GTA mods and then immediately make their character just everything was perfect and awesome and strong. And then immediately oh, this game just became terrible. They're like, I ruined the game for me. Because after that, I couldn't play it anymore because you did it all. And you're like, yeah. It's gotta learn that. Find your limits. Because, if the ultimate thing for playing a game for ourselves, by ourselves, is to find some kind of meaningful enjoyment. And don't take that away from yourself. So if you cheat, Just make sure you know you're riding that line.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, there's also situations to where, like, for example, Monster Hunter, when it first came out, you play with other people and you try to get gear and everything. And there is some cheesy strat that you could do that kind of broke the game in a way, where you could just kill everything, just shooting them with like a certain weapon over and over again, and just stuns them and makes the fights completely worthless. But I mean, if you do that, it doesn't. Them doing that doesn't make me not want to play the game and play it and enjoy it. So it doesn't make me too upset. But like you were saying, if it's a multiplayer game in time where there's competition in some way and some sort of bragging right by doing well, and it's part of the game, then yeah, it's shitty to go in and try to cheat your way to the top.
Well, and then we're getting into a different fine line between just a puzzle. Well, it's maybe a little different. Puzzle game where you're looking up answers versus just cheesing a game because you find, a boss mechanic is easily exploited and broken, which Games Done Quick is 24 hours of 7 days a week of just exploiting all of that.
Right.
Which actually, when you first started watching that, right, because there was that old original camp with any true speed run, you don't use glitches. You don't use cheeses. You play it like a quote, I'm going to call it normal, like a normal person. Did you guys ever have that struggle in the beginning when you were like, oh shit, they're going to break everything?
A couple times I saw it and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but after a while I'm like, what does it matter? It doesn't matter.
See, I was surprised. Yeah. I didn't really care. I thought it was kind of interesting that there was like these glitched runs and these glitchless runs. And I don't know if I've ever personally found a glitch, like something that you would exploit like in a speed run in a game before. So to me, when I saw it, I was like, it was like a new level to these games where people had really pushed these games to these limits and worked within their community to do so. That I thought it was cool. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
I want to say
for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say the first speed run I remember watching once the community was someone. They set the world record for Mario getting a complete speed run, like the complete like stars run, and he used a handful of glitches, but not many. And I just remember being in awe, like his technical expertise is just crushing the game. I was like, oh my god! And then I was surprised because then it was probably, I bet you it was like 4 months before I found out about Games Done Quick. So it was probably like 2014, and that's when I was like, I thought they were all going to beat the game. I think the way we traditionally would expect it. Right. And then watching them crush it. It was hard for me at first. I was like, I don't know if I like this. It took about a day or two, and then you're like, and then I came in the next camp going, oh, they're doing some really cool stuff. That this is a lot of times doing the glitch is actually harder, technically speaking, to pull off than it would be to play the game.
Well, I mean, it's just
like some of the.
No, I was just gonna say it's just your
like
expectation. Right? Like when you hear speedrunning at first, you're like, oh, they beat this game, going through and doing all this stuff in the game. Yeah. And then you're like, wait a minute, they cheated? And then you're like, well, I don't know if I care about that. But then you get over it.
Yeah, it's like watching the Ocarina of Time. They're like, yeah, they beat Ocarina of Time in 12 minutes. And you're like, what the? How is that even possible? And you find out, right, the glitching through the mechanic, the way they set up the Ganon, and you're like, oh, that's very different. But there are still people in the camps that totally believe using any glitch to beat a game is bullshit, especially in a speedrun.
Of course. There's people who believe that you can't wear masks. So, I mean, there's like...
Well, so that's coming from... Yeah. So, but we're getting into people that have a sort of philosophy of purity of games, right?
Okay.
And that's... Like, that's a little different than... I mean, granted, there are some people that think religious reasons they're not wearing masks, which makes no sense.
Right.
Or whatever. They're saying it's a philosophy, which doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, like, in general, when we're talking about, like, saying, oh, well, I hate or I dislike these people and I don't validate what they're doing because I don't like it, that's kind of an asshole thing for me. So
it's an absolute asshole thing.
So when people say, "Hey, it's not the exact same thing as the mask," but at the same time, I look at them and I'm like, if someone's going to not be happy that this guy worked his ass off to achieve something in an interesting way, then why do I have any respect for that person?
It's a different way to play the game. It's like you have this game and everybody's played it this way for the last 10 years, and then someone comes along and says, "I'm going to play it a new way. I found all these cool glitches that I've worked for hours and hours on, and I could do something that's never been done before in this game." and then they create a whole new. Now I'm doing a glitched run, or
Mhm.
I mean, there's like the communities that get involved in the different ways that they learn to play
Yeah.
these games that are classics are just so cool.
Yeah.
It's really neat. I will say though, when I look at the games done list, the games on quick list, I generally more excited for most of the glitchless runs. Like when I see
Yeah.
glitchless, I'm like, okay, let's see you pull this off. These are tough. Like wow.
Yeah. Those are,
So,
I mean, they're interesting. They're all interesting in their own right to me. Like, I just
absolutely.
don't
Yeah.
jump to the hate train just because of, how they're doing it.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So
No, but I will. Yeah.
I'm okay with glitches, no glitches, whatever. I just enjoy it to see what they're doing and the achievement with it. So
Agreed.
Mhm.
Although I will say the ones I hate the most, which they don't do as many anymore because I think they realize how visually uninteresting they are, is the games that typically are like 3D shooter perspective ones, where the glitch is basically jumping them out of the game. So then all of a sudden, like your game map is like an M&M, and you're somehow flying on top, and then you drop down, and then you beat the level, but you couldn't see anything, and it's like, yeah, that
it
was
may not be
really
interesting to
not
watch.
satisfying.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, and they don't do many of those anymore. But there was that run of 2016. There were like a handful of them. Like it's like these do beat the games fast, but they suck. They're
I
just
think
not
Doom
interesting
probably
to
brought
watch.
that out. If I would have to imagine that, because I
The
remember
one I
seeing a Doom
remember
run with that.
was March of the Pigs. What's the horror? Amnesia, the
Oh.
sequel. Amnesia, March of the
Something of the Pigs,
I think
yeah.
so. It was that sequel that they did a speed run where you just constantly jump out of the map to just move through and jump in. And I was really excited to see that because I love the Amnesia series. And it was like, this was terrible. And I hate it. You're like, well, this is not very interesting.
On that note, I'm assuming you're excited for the new one that's coming out. Do you know about the new one that's coming out?
No, I'm excited that I just found out
called
there's a new one.
Afterbirth, I think, maybe?
I knew that.
Yeah. I don't think that's wrong. Maybe it is.
Right. And little Will Smith's kid. Every single time we saw After Earth.
Oh yeah, that Afterbirth.
No, Rebirth. Sorry, not Afterbirth.
I was like, if they're going for Afterbirth,
It's
that is
Rebirth.
bold.
It's a machine for pigs, and the other one was The Dark Descent.
Yeah. I love the first one. That is such an all-time classic horror game.
Yeah. So they're coming out with a new one, and it's supposed to be this year. I can put it actually was announced like 5 months ago, man. You're just out of the loop.
It's just sometime this year is released. I don't see an actual date.
Hold on, I just completely messed up all the cameras, but that's okay. There we go. I put it in the general chat here.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Usually, we're so on top of stuff, you don't get like these random surprises.
Well, we didn't have these conversations before either, so there's little bits of things that.
Well,
and this is your net, but makes it in mine.
And I follow a handful of the big gaming sites, and you realize a lot of those gaming sites have just huge blind spots for games, like depending on who their writers are at the time. But like, it's still kind of impressive where like the either not horror games usually covered, but like Dota coverage and League coverage, they just don't have any of it, even though those games are so insanely popular. And you would not know it if you only followed these different like gaming sites. They're like, oh, these are, if not arguably, the most popular games on Earth. You would have
they're
no
insane.
idea. Yeah.
I kind of feel bad that I never really got into Dota, but at the same time, I don't, because like, there's just so much. It's one of those games that takes like a year just to know the game.
Yeah.
And understand it, and I don't enjoy that aspect of it at all.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, right? Because I mean,
right?
Huh?
It's got to be like the hardcore MOBA if you're ranking them at all.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I played League for years and never did anything remotely competitively, and I always enjoyed it. Which is why I liked Heroes. It was simplified, but
that's why I liked Heroes too. For
learning Heroes was always more fun than learning to master a hero.
Okay.
Like I loved learning new heroes, no matter what mechanics. Like this is great, but it's actually like that with a lot of board games. I love the aspect of learning the game. And then once you know it, you're like, I don't want to keep playing this anymore. I liked learning it, but now that I've learned it, I don't want to learn to master it. Like there's certain games they do that with, right? But this one is like, Valorant is that same thing. I like Valorant a lot more when I was learning the game. But then once you're like, I now fully understand how this entire game works structurally, I don't care to refine my skills to get better. It's like, this is now
I don't know.
for me.
I played a lot of shooters when I was younger, and so it just sits well with me. Just aiming and waiting for someone to come around a corner and shoot them and trying to hit them in the head, and that's just...
You get to your back dodge. Just...
and learning how to like understand the pace of the game, where people are, what to do when they're in these spots. And
don't you love it when you've worked so hard to get to a spot all quiet, and then the dude next to you is like, you're like, well, my position doesn't matter anymore because he's constantly running and giving it away. It's
when
like,
you get the higher ranks, it's probably not like that so much, but yeah, I experience that all the time. Yeah.
I'm just generally not into fast-paced games. So I don't really take to shooters most of the time, even though I do really like fast-paced platformers a lot. Like I liked Celeste a lot.
Super Meat Boy.
But it's and Super Meat Boy, I like that too. But when it's like a 3D fast-paced shooter and I'm playing against other people and I can't like take my time and learn something, I have to follow the pace of other people to learn it. It's stressful to me, I guess.
And you're on a team and you're like, oh, if I don't do well, I'm letting them down, and it's just that extra stress that you don't want to.
Yeah.
I understand.
Since you don't like fast-paced games, Nick, I have a recommendation for you. It's called The Longing. It's a game that takes 400 days to beat, like real time.
I'm playing it right now, actually.
The Longing?
Like there's a section, The Longing. Yeah. It the point of the game. So there is a god who has gone to sleep, and you are his servant, and he's going to wake up in 400 days. So you have access to his cave, and you're doing anything. So you're solving all this stuff in the cave, but things happen in real time. And let me tell you, when he walks, there's no running. It takes a long time, and it's kind of like a platformy. And there was like a part where I was at a couple months ago, and I knocked some rocks down, and they needed some moss to grow on it that was on the ground. And they were like, it's going to take 2 weeks. It's been 3 months, so I'm sure that place is covered in moss. So now I can get to the next area. But I had to I was going to have to wait a month to get there. So it's a very interesting, it's not like, you have to invest a ton of time into it. But it's a really weird indie concept. But literally, you cannot beat the game for 400 days. Like,
I don't know if I would enjoy that at all. I'd probably hate that game.
That's the thing, Mark. It's like watching a slow burn TV show. You can hop in. Here's what I'll tell you. I play about once a month for about, honestly, 30 minutes to a time. It feels very relaxing. There's a calmness to it when you kind of walk through and you kind of do your stuff, and I'll hop out. And you're like, okay.
Like you have weekly stuff you do, like MMO.
No, it's more like I knocked a thing down so there was a stalactite, and I was going to have to wait a month for it to fall to create a gap so I could walk across the area. So I'm going to go back to that room in a month or two when the stalactite falls. But yeah.
Okay.
And it's measured in game, not against your computer clock, so I don't think you can just cheat it. So.
Well, not with
I started
the
to play
clock,
it, but I think I uninstalled it because I'm looking at it right now. I don't have it installed anymore, but I was playing it for a little bit.
Yeah. No, we could probably put it in the hipster indie game slot, but it's doing something unique.
Yeah, we should all play that together, and then have a show on it.
We can't because Brian already started it like months ago, and so if he started, he would lose. Like
I started like beginning of quarantine. Like, yeah, I'm like halfway there to my God waking up.
Okay.
Or my Lord, whatever.
Well,
I don't know.
It should at least get recognition for design.
Huh?
Yeah.
It should at least get recognition for design.
Okay. That's a neat concept and idea. I need to log into Stanley Parable at some point, so I can get. I think it's the 5-year achievement.
You can just change your clock for that one.
Can you?
You can change your clock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did that. We changed the clock. So that's when we changed the clock.
I could probably do it legitimately right now, so feel good about that. Cheers.
Actually, I bet you I would be getting close too. I'm trying to think when I installed Stanley.
I wonder if I uninstalled it, to be honest with you. I don't know if I did or not.
I uninstalled it after I did
So
everything.
you wanted to save that like 90 megs of space.
Yeah.
So,
When
by
did
the
I
way,
play it,
Brian, did you
2015.
look at the link I sent you, or are you going to purchase Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I did. I threw it in when I was. I bought Remake. I bought the Uncharted collection.
Today?
And yeah, today. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I last played Stanley Parable June 22nd, 2016.
So I think
next summer. Next summer.
Okay.
I played it 15 in June too. I think I played it, and then I told G, I'm like, you got to play this game. And then I went to work, and I came back, and you're like, it's done.
That's all I did today.
So it was a fun game to play.
Well, because I had the game previously, because it was one of those, like, you know, kind of like the Indie Hall of Fame, like, you know, games you must play, kind of like Thomas Was Alone. And then I think, so I logged in and played the first part of it, and it was that office. And I think I gave the game 7 minutes. And I was like, I don't think I like this. And I logged out. And then never really came back. And then Nick Corda crushed it. And he was like, no, you don't understand. You're an idiot. You got to keep looking at this. This is a very, very clever game. Like, more clever than you would ever expect it to be.
January 7th, 2014 for me, by the way, was the last time I logged into it. So.
Oh, you got it there. Yeah.
Just got to reinstall it. But. Oh, all right. So we got past Baba Is You. Do we have another game that we can play throughout this series of a week from any of the lists?
Probably, I don't know, about a week.
Yeah.
But we could pick up a game that we can all play kind of on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, did you guys play anything else this past week other than
I played Outer Wilds. And I am further. I started it again, and I'm further along than I was last time. I'm hoping to beat it within a week or so. But that was it. Brian, you played Control, right?
I did. Yeah, I played and beat Control.
Oh, okay. Was that good? Yeah. Was it as good as you thought?
Yeah. It's not as good as Last of Us. I mean, it's.
Always Last of Us, yeah.
It's everything comes back to the way you feel when you get through that emotionally painful game. Jesus. No, it's a very good game. It's very David Lynch meets Lovecraft, like within kind of a Twilight Zone. Does those references make anything to you, Mark?
No, I was just looking at your cam was messing up or something. I don't know if Nick saw that, but like your head was all like blurred and weird. It's a little bit on the side.
Like you got a hole in your head right now.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, it has been your cam has been a little bit delayed from your mic, but I mean, it hasn't been too big of a deal. But now it just looks like half of it, like it's like this is 50 years later side of your face. Like it's just.
It looks like camo. Like he's like blending in with his environment. It's like Predator, is what it is.
Okay. So you were asking me about David Lynch?
No, the way you started laughing, I realized you were laughing at my distorted face.
Oh, it was.
References, yeah. No, it's a very Lynchian, like with Lovecraft influences. So I say that to say that the game is absolutely not afraid to be weird and to do things that, in a context where it's like, we don't care that we're going to explain this, and we're going to be obtuse in a way that's not annoying, but hopefully interests you. From a gameplay wise, fairly solid. You know, and it's got kind of like it's got like a third-person action perspective, but mixed in with kind of a Metroidvania. So you're in this like office building, right? Imagine like FBI headquarters. You know, office building goes crazy and different floors and everything goes in here, and it's all different weird. So like sections unlock throughout the game, and then just like a Metroidvania, except in this weird office building. Yeah, so mechanically, that stuff's all not too hard. I will say the very final level did some shit that just annoys me when at the end of a game they don't know what to do, so they just like, we're just going to keep throwing the same mobs at you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you're just going to have to win. And that very last level took a couple tries. It got like, it was excessive. This is like super excessive. But yeah, it's a really smart narrative game. It's pretty weird. The voice acting is top notch. Like, you know, it actually made me think. Do you guys remember early voice acting? Like
yeah, Final
from like
Fantasy
PlayStation
10.
1. Like even worse than that. Like I love Cheryl's little.
I saw that.
Yeah, the like Symphony of the Night. Do you remember Symphony of the Night? Like the Castlevania Symphony of the Night PlayStation 1.
I think
like
so.
Voice acting that they added in there. Just Google it. You're gonna laugh. It's horrible. I just played the Resident Evil HD. They didn't update that voice acting.
Oh,
shit.
I remember that
It's
voice
terrible.
acting.
And you also realize you're like, man, in the late 90s, early 2000s, did actors not know how to talk into a mic? These can't do it. Where now there's so many good voice actors. It's like, yeah. So they crushed it on this one.
I mean, when you think about voice actors and what kind of jobs that they were getting back then, right? It was all just kids animation, wasn't it? That was most of American voice actors.
I would assume, and like a lot of American voice acting in that respect is always that kid version of hyper and annoying. Like it's just that style. It's really bad. Like now you're allowed to be a voice actor and treat it like you're actually an actor and not do a lot of gadzooks, yoinks.
Oh man,
right? Just like it's like right like anime. It's like with the way that they would take all of the an anime and then the English dub, and you're like, I want to die. Why do they have to make these voices so bad? This character should not sound like a Zoinks. Jesus. But I don't know.
It was funny because Japanese voice actors, they were doing like more adult themed stuff for a while before American voice actors kind of dealt with it. But I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I think I mentioned this before. I think that even if there were Japanese voice actors and I watched anime, I wouldn't know if they were bad.
Right.
So I just naturally think it's fine.
Yeah.
There's voices I can't stand that are in Japanese, but they're normally like really high pitch. Like
that's it.
Yeah.
It's like you've seen some anime that's like specifically designed for little kids, and you're just like, oh god, like it's the way I feel when I watch cartoons designed for little kids. The way that they're shrieking and they're so loud, you're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, don't like it. But I don't know.
But
so I would control because you're mentioning like everything you're talking about sounds like something I think I would just adore.
Yeah, you would check it out, and I would check it out. It's something, would check it out.
So about a game that we can all play.
Oh, I played Outer Wilds. I didn't beat it. Yeah, I had a very interesting experience in that I played it for about 30 minutes, and I thought, I don't understand this game. I can't stand this game. I don't know the point of this. And I had, for a game that was so recommended, I had to actually go online and Google, like, Outer Wilds. What is the point? Why do people like this? And it started autofilling, going, oh, I'm not the only person.
No,
tried asking this.
Okay, so I don't want to ruin it too much.
Well, I understand it now.
Okay, because it to me so far it was about learning the game and discovering, like, because it just gives you everything and you have no idea what to do. And even like right now where I am in the game, I'm like, I still don't really have a lot of direction. I understand more of the story and certain things that are going on in the solar system and why they happen the way they did, but I don't really exactly know what I'm supposed to do to beat the game. I'm just going to go off on a couple rumors and see where trails lead me right now. And I found myself figuring out some things that I didn't really think that I could or that were even possible. And I think this game really... So my biggest pet peeve with Outer Wilds is it is not forgiving at all. unless you do one thing. So the game is a groundhog game. It's you relive the same day over and over and over and over again. So the problem is you have like it's something like 10 minutes or something like that, and then the sun supernovas.
20.
Or 20 minutes.
I only know it's
sun
20
supernova
because I never stayed alive long enough to know that the universe will always explode, because I always died before I got to the 20. It is constantly
it takes
dying.
A while to get,
yeah.
It takes a while to get used to the controls in it too.
Yep.
But when you can't, there's a point in the game where you can talk to someone and you can meditate and restart your life. But if you haven't unlocked that ability yet, if you get stuck somewhere, the only thing you can do is quit the game and restart your loop, or just wait 20 minutes for you to die. And it's very easy to get stuck somewhere because you're highly dependent on your no, not always. Is a lot of people like I am sure like tons of people just like try to jump off cliffs until they die, or if they're stuck in space, they just quit the game or leave the controller and walk away, because like you're so dependent on your ship and how well your ship's doing that if you lose it for any reason, and the physics are done really well, so like your ship, if it's going slightly faster than you will never catch up with it because it's in space.
Okay.
But it does such a good job at not telling you about the world and giving you the option to explore, and through these unique conversations that you read throughout, you learn about this ancient race. You start to figure out exactly what's happening to you and why you are where you are, and that's what I like about it. And once you get to a point where you're starting to understand the controls, it's it's a pleasant game. But before that, it can get kind of frustrating. I almost put it down at first because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to keep doing this over and over again. I feel like it's a wasting time.
Mm-hmm. They want to be Bill Murray.
Yeah. So, right. Mm-hmm. Well, so when I went to go read a little more about the game, but then I realized like what this game is essentially it's Majora's Mask meets No Man's Sky. So it sounds like a crazy viewing. Yeah. Well, in Majora's Mask, right? I played it when it came out. Huge fan, big fan of Zelda 64.
I still haven't beat that game yet.
And
Majora's Mask, yeah.
It's a game I hated. I played it now as an adult, and I realized I think it's the single most underrated Zelda game because it's so clever and so smartly put together. Mm-hmm. So in this, the one thing I also did think that was really bad was I only talked to so you start in a village, this weird cutesy village, and I talked to so many people, and then I like went on to go explore, and I just die. And like at some point you're on a ship, and I landed wrong, so I damaged my ship, and it was telling me to repair my ship, but I would get out, and I would look at it, and be like, looks fine to me, but it keeps telling me to repair something I don't know what to repair. So it looks good. Mm-hmm. That when everyone told me it's like, this is the best game to play, that is the hardest game to get into, because it doesn't feed everything to you, which is sometimes hard, and it gives you no direction, so you don't even know the point of it. But the point is to slowly immerse yourself and slowly figure out there is a greater mystery happening, and you can figure out stuff in these time limit loops. And then from that, you can actually play the game and beat a lot from it. I was like, oh, okay, so I need to go back in because my initial experience. And they also said, make sure to talk to every single person in your village in the beginning. Talk to everyone and do everything. So then you'll fully understand all your skills, how everything works. Yeah. And you'll learn more stuff. I only knew like one thing, so I went out like a fumbling idiot.
Super. No wonder like it was such a struggle. Yeah, you definitely learn all the tutorials and stuff like that, so you can just navigate your way through everything.
The only real tutorial I did was how to fly your ship when they show you the baby one. And I was like, all right, we're good. And that's, yeah.
So, I guess
another thing.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, this dovetails. When I was playing, the only thing I didn't like about playing Control is all of the games I've been playing have typically had really either horror elements or intense themes. So the palettes are really, really dark. And so, the way that you're going to intensify all of those environments is you just mute all the colors, just adds that kind of, the way that shadows and everything. And I just I want to play a game that's bright. I'm so tired of dark rooms and dark shadows and Outer Wilds kind of fit that niche there for a hot minute. But then I'm like, I don't know what to do. Die. All I did was die.
the game's misleading too, because if you look at the map, you're like, oh, it's only like 5 planets. That seems like not a big deal. Planets are like pretty small, but when you start
It's like Little
exploring them,
Prince. Yeah.
yeah, it's really intense for exploring it. It is way bigger than it appears, and so much that I'm like I have 20 minutes to do this one thing that I want to do in my head, and I'm like, I don't think I have enough time. I don't know if I can get there and walk around and explore this area before I die. So I'm just gonna try the best I can. But I'm definitely at that point in this game where I'm really enjoying it, and I was nervous. I wanted to play it, but I was a little nervous getting back into it because I know I struggled a little bit when I first started playing it. But I love it now.
I mean, I guess this leads me into a question to where, you know, the evolution of games and, for example, Final Fantasy VII and not wanting to do random battles all the time and go through and have to do that, you know, it changes. And so a lot of these games are turning into this kind of hand-holdy situation to where you go through and they tell you everything. But we see games like this kind of giving us this jolt back every once in a while where it's just figure it out. You know, you have to figure this out on your own and learn this game through playing the game. It's not just going to give you this little helpful hint everywhere to tell you everything to do. I mean, do you enjoy that?
I definitely enjoy that. I love being immersed I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like The Witness. Witness is that type of game where you just need to figure it out. But the difference is between Witness and Outer Wilds is Witness, it's completely forgiving. There's no consequence to anything that you do. And it also is very limited in the amount of controls that you have. So it's not intimidating as far as just the buttons on just learning the environment goes. But I definitely love games that kind of just throw you into something, and then it's up to you to figure out the story and the narrative behind it. It makes me feel like I'm immersed in it more if I do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, do you think these kind of games can survive in today's climate of video games, or is it just going to be little niche games that, oh, that's neat, and that's the only...
1,000%, right? Because so the gaming populace now is so big, right? Like when we were growing up, it was kind of like, quote, a hobby, but now it's not a hobby, it's culture, right? There's everyone younger than us, it's a culture, which is great because it's great for us. But this is also the countermeasures where they started making games, right, accessible for everyone. And then when you make it really accessible, sometimes it becomes kind of a slimming down with its design to make it accessible to everyone. But then you have the countermeasure, you have the Souls games. Those games are like, don't give a shit. We don't care how hard it is. This is how hard we're making the game, and it's up to you to get good. And that's upset a lot of players because they want to make it, because they recognize the quality of the game, but they're like, either A, I'm not good enough to play those, and B, I just don't have the time to get good to experience these games.
Right.
And they inherently push out players. But there's always a niche of players that will like very difficult immersive style games. I mean, that's why we're getting art games now that are like Journey, right? Is Journey really an indie game when it was actually produced by Sony and they straight up like paid for orchestra backing to like make the music? Not really. That sounds like a AAA game, but it looks like an indie art game, but you get in those weird spaces. So I absolutely, and designers are right. They're all getting older and more mature. And so you have people who've been playing games for their whole life. You're going to start, it's like, you know, when movies first started, they only made certain kind of movies, and then now everyone started moving, and then they started making different ranges of movies. And then you start having designers who've been stuck, who want to make different games to appeal to them, not just like to other people. And so you start creating these whole divisions, you know, which is great because you have a whole kaleidoscope of games now. It's not just platformers and shooters.
True.
You know, like even thinking back to Nintendo, so it's like if I bought Metroid or like Blaster Master and I threw away the booklet, I would start the game and have zero idea what I'm supposed to do and just have to walk and explore to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do. And so I think these games have been around for like a really long time. It's just you can create them in like a more different environments. You can create them in different styles and things like that. I think they've been around forever.
I mean, they have, yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking is that, you know, these games, this used to be kind of the core of games. Games you would just kind of figure out when you turn it on. You would have to learn it. I mean, you could look up the manual, but most of the time, They were awesome. I'm glad they were in the cases, but I didn't always read the manual before I started playing the game. I just booted it up and went, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go and.
I don't think anybody
Yeah.
read the manual,
I mean, I did.
which sucks because
If I couldn't play
I
it
would
at that
read some
moment,
of
for
them,
example, I was at an age where I couldn't actually play the game like at that moment. I was in a
Yeah.
car or something else, but I was like, I'm so fucking excited.
Oh.
I'd open it up and I'd start reading the manual and I start.
You read the manual, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the era of like I forget, I saw a video on it, but they were talking about games that actually required you to read the manual to solve the problems in the games, like in the NES era, where they expected you to actually read the manuals. Where now that's clearly doesn't matter.
They don't even include them. They don't exist
manuals,
anymore.
They don't even exist. They don't exist.
Unless if
anymore.
you get the deluxe edition that has some sort of little.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I got my
But now
deluxe
games
edition
are-
Final Fantasy VII art book.
Ooh.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it
I'm
came
really
with-
glad Amazon canceled my order the day of delivery of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you
upgrade.
could have had this stuff that just had like the art of things in the game, and kind of
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah, I feel bad.
I
For
mean,
you.
I'm actually glad that I don't. It's always the stuff I kind of want, and then once I get it, I realize I don't need it.
Well, I mean,
It's
I
like-
don't. It's just sitting over here. This is actually this is something I wanted to talk to you guys about. That wasn't something that was planned at all. That I don't want to forget to mention it. I actually went through and bought the 3-book D&D set that has the player's handbook, the
Mhm.
Oh,
game
yeah,
master's
the Player's
guide,
Handbook,
and the monster
and the
manual.
monster manual.
And I'm
Yeah.
like just kind of reading through some of it as at the end of the night. Maybe I'll read a little bit of it and just kind of go through it because the concept is just so appealing to me right now. I don't know why in particular, but like it's just the idea of this game existing and being able to play it. Even though I haven't found a game yet to play, I'd be happy to maybe one day learn how to host a game and then play it because it just seems like it's such a fantastic idea, I guess.
Here's the thing. I think my role playing days are beyond me.
Are they?
But I can give you 5 people who want to play right now if they have someone who will DM.
Is that it?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll learn how to DM
No.
at some point and do a game. I'll find people. I'm sure I will. But I mean, at the same
Yeah.
time, it's just something I've started to invest more time into that I didn't expect that I would.
No, with Twitch, man, dude, it's probably never been easier to actually host gaming sessions and then get people up on board and do stuff. And then with all the online tools you have for
Mhm.
your character creations, rolling, all that stuff, it's like infinitely better than it used to be.
Yeah.
In ease,
It's
all
not
you
the
know,
same
you can actually
feeling.
work on.
Being there in person is 10 times better, but
Yeah.
it still exists in
100%,
some manner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, I thought you played before.
No,
I did play a little bit, but every time I played, I'd have 3 sessions. It never got past 3 sessions before the game just completely died. People
I
didn't
think
show
that's
up
pretty
or something happened and it just fell off the board.
well, right. It's like it's you get to play for 1 month with those people, or you have the group. It's like our gaming group's met every Sunday for 20 years. It's like there's like no middle ground. It's
I mean,
like-
I would like that. So I'm going to see how it all plays out, and I might get with there's some people in the Final Fantasy 14 community that might be interested in doing it, might throw something together. They even
Are you
have
playing
Final
Current
Fantasy based tabletop RPGs out there
that doesn't
for D&D.
surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah, but
They I just read a thing actually. Wizards is putting out a board game sometime this year that is essentially a gateway version to get people into tabletop gaming, but it's a not quite like Hero Quest style tabletop. I didn't look into it too much deeper, but it's like a board game version of D&D.
man, I miss board
But
games.
I felt like a jackass. I bought a board game today, Sight Unseen.
Oh, yeah?
No, Stonemaier Games put out. I'm on their mailing list, but they put out one of their games. Their new game was out today, and I pre-ordered it. But it's like a short window because there's only so many people, and Stonemaier is one of the most respected gaming publishers in the industry, if not the.
Mhm.
So it's like Sight Unseen. Like they made Wingspan, Scythe. I don't know if you played any of those.
I don't know.
What was the game we played, Nick? With me and Shannon. I want to call it the Villager game. Turn-based, resource
with
turn-based,
all the
resource
little
management.
meeples? Oh, Charterstone.
Yeah, Charterstone, that legacy game. That's the only game they've made I do not like. But here's the thing: the creator of it and the owner of it has said he doesn't think that game is very successful either. Like he's like, I don't think that game actually worked out.
It could have been the problem. It could have like augmented some of the rules, and it would have been really decent. But for people who like to min max, like all of their moves.
Oh, we're like literally the 3 worst people to play that style of game. Yeah, min maxers are bad for that. But this game, I don't know anything about it except it's called Pendulum. Except everyone makes turns at the same time, and I'm like, I'm in. I trust your design, and that's my favorite thing of gaming. Instead of playing like 5 people, it's your turn, which can take forever. Mm-hmm. And this time, nope. It's like why I love the Game of Thrones board game. While it takes forever,
I wish we would have got into that so much more.
We tried.
It's just.
I remember going to Jeff's house, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And he had some party going on, and they're like, we're going to play board games, and we're going to do Game of Thrones. And so I'm sitting there in the back just saying, all right, you do this now, and you do this. And I'm just kind of like overwatching and moderating the game actually happening because no one was there to play a serious board game. And I felt like such a jackass.
I was, because that's why it was so frustrating. But that's why the second time we played it was at your apartment.
No, the first time was at my apartment, right? And then the second time was at his house, I thought.
Maybe I thought it was the other way around because I just remember you being like, Muster.
Yeah, I want to hear him say Muster over again.
Just always killed me. No, I love that game, but everyone makes your turn at the same time. So I run everyone's sisters and go. Now go. And I'm like, I love that. Because it's weird. You're like, the game took us 5 hours. We didn't even finish, and it felt like it just was blazing through. So
I mean, after everyone figures out the game, like it's a 4 to 5 hour game probably. But I mean, it'll be about a year before we can have a chance to play it again. I don't know when. I don't know when it's all gonna stop, man.
It doesn't. I mean, considering where we live, since we're in like the worst state except for Florida. Once a vaccine is like successful, and we know it's going away, but
once we start to see it successful and go away and everything, and then we're like, no one is getting weird limbs after taking this vaccine or something, right?
I'm not even like super excited about a vaccine. I really want there just to be better treatment. I want to be able to, if I do get it, and I have adverse reactions, I want some type of treatment so I don't die.
So treatment is incredibly better. Like if you look at the death rates from now for the first month, they figured a lot of stuff how to treat it comparatively to where they were at. Mm-hmm. Where in the beginning they didn't have any idea, and a lot of solutions are bad but that's unfortunately how medicine works. It's incredibly imperfect science.
I mean, we're still losing people every day, quite like a large amount of people.
But the rate of infection versus death is much lower because they actually they figured out how to treat. But it's still scary because certain people still are screwed.
I mean, I'm worried about myself. I'm worried about my wife, just because we're considered high risk. So I don't know.
Well, and you have what did they say? You have the lungs of a 70-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. My lung capacity is usually around between 70 and like 80%. Which actually, so I was watching Titan Games the first season like a year or two ago with my nephew, and this girl came on as a contestant, and she only had one lung, and she's like, I'm operating at like 80% capacity of like a normal person with this one lung. I've exercised, and I'm like, perfect. I'm ready to train. I'm ready to compete. And then I started laughing, and my nephew's like, what? And like, she has one lung, and she's doing better than I am right now. Like, just sitting right next to you.
And you're like, not even a former smoker of any kind?
No, my lungs suck.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
That's not that. I mean, I don't know any different.
But so the other solution, if you want to do board games, though, is there are quite a few very good top line games that are digital now.
I mean, I have. What's it? What's the game that everyone has? The one that I recommended that one time. Tabletop Simulator.
I heard that's kind of awful.
But really?
They do have.
Okay. The problem. Okay, Tabletop Simulator can work very well, right? Because everyone has made the mods in the game, so you can look at you're looking at a 3D board thing, and then the game will all line up. But it doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't follow the logic. Like, it assumes everyone knows how to play the game naturally. So you can cheat, and then you can click. It's kind of awkward. But I mean, games like Terraforming Mars and Scythe, like, they all have digital versions now, so you can play them digitally, and it's pretty quick. So it handles a lot of the maintenance. And you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So
Game of Thrones has a version that's coming out Q3 of this year. So
which
quarter
version?
We're basically in quarter 3, right?
I don't know. It just says the board game digital edition of Game of Thrones.
We're a month into Q3.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. So anytime soon is the board game digital version.
If you guys, if that's one of the things that we buy next and we all play together,
I don't know.
There's like 5 Game of Thrones board games.
I don't know. It's. I'm trying to look here.
A Game of Thrones, just look, the board game.
Look for muster. Just look for the word muster.
The screenshots honestly look like the same exact game that we played.
So there's lots of mushrooms.
The map looks the same.
So it's Westeros. They're not gonna.
That's very true. But like the routes that it had on, I don't know. It looks similar. Could be wrong. I mean, it has to be. If there was a throne, a sword, and a crow. That was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same game.
Okay.
So it comes out pretty soon. Whenever, I don't know. I'm gonna add to my wish list.
Okay. Is it on Steam? Or what was it on? Is it just?
I'm looking on Steam right now.
Okay.
But Brian's right. There's a lot of board games that have digital versions that work really well.
Really high quality games we want to play would want to play.
What I heard Tabletop Simulator is, and this is just I know Jeff hosted a night and it went okay, but there was a lot of there's the ability for people to goof around and distract from the game very easily, and someone can just take the table.
Isn't that what his board game nights normally turn into, though?
I don't know.
Sometimes. Nick doesn't. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes.
Okay. It's hard when you get there's a critical mass.
Ironically, never because of Jeff, who is arguably
Jeff
the greatest troll of us all. But when he hosts, he is the great. It's funny because he's such a troll, but he will do damage control whole time, which is pretty impressive when you know how much of a troll he really is.
Yeah.
No, he's an outstanding host.
He's
he just wants everybody to have a good time.
Yeah, very good host.
But I mean, you hit a certain amount of people, and then it just becomes to meet up and talk, and less about board games, and it's just what it is.
Well, and you're playing a game like you play party games, and if you're playing a game that's like 10 people, each person gets a turn. You're like, my turn's done, and even if it's like 30 seconds a piece, you're like, my turn's not going to happen for 5 to 7 minutes. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so you end up. But it becomes your focus. Sometimes that is the point. The point is like, I don't really care about the game. I'm just here to kind of play a game, but I just want to see you and talk with you.
Yeah. Like right now, I just want to see you guys. I don't really care what we do.
Same. Well, that's what this all started. It's like, I just want to see you. I want to hang out with you. Quarantine sucks.
It's the worst.
And we all care about it. So it's not like we're going to, Zips every Friday.
Right.
It's been so long since I've been there. Oh, man.
Probably 5 years, a year and a half for me. Well, the only time I've gone there I guess it wasn't really my own volition, is we had some other companies take us out to lunch at work, and they usually pick Zips, which I don't know why. That's what they settle on, but which I'm like, it's free food.
My sister goes to Zips still every
Friday. You were telling me,
Yeah, she's a contributor to our wonderful our number one spot in the nation.
Yeah.
But I like Zips a lot just because they have a shuffleboard. I will go to any bar if they have shuffleboard there. I just want to play the thing. Or shuffle puck, whatever you want to call it. But I just love that game.
I've only heard shuffleboard, so yeah.
Have you ever decided to play actual shuffleboard with proper sticks?
Like old people
we did in Oh,
cruise?
you weren't with us. You weren't with us when we went and did it in Brooklyn. You went when you saw Wicked, and we ended up going throwing an axes, and then we went to a shuffleboard bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you were there? And like, no, you weren't.
Oh, there was shuffleboard and axe throwing at that place.
Yeah, we went to axe throwing and then went and played shuffleboard.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I did do axe throwing before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you just did in your homeland?
In my homeland? Back in the country?
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee, we threw axes just to cut the wood.
Axe throwing,
to get the
just
squirrels.
Like a skill?
That and BB guns.
You can't. Well, I make fun of that, but it's like I was given a BB gun at an age now I find preposterous. It's like, I think I was 6.
I don't think I would give my child a BB gun, to be honest with you.
Not at the age I was at. I was like, holy crap.
I never owned any kind of gun other than like a squirt gun.
Wow. Your mom was super against it.
My mom was like, I would rather you watch porno than me give you this BB gun. It's like, okay.
That's fair. All
right, Mom. Let's put that to the test.
Yeah, I was watching porn, Mom.
Yeah, no, BB guns were definitely something that was around and like I was able to shoot and stuff, but it was just what it was. People just had BB guns and shot birds and squirrels and stuff because it was like, holy shit, I just shot that bird. But that's
just killed that
being stupid country
kids. Live anymore.
What? Not anymore. No,
I'm just saying, I just killed that thing over there. It's not going to live anymore. I feel good about myself. Anymore.
Wow, I'm powerful. Me and my little round metal object that I just shot over into this stupid little bird. I was such a dumb kid. I did a lot of dumb things when I was a kid.
I think we are.
I didn't do one dumb thing ever.
You're like, not one.
I mean, I did things that were destructive, that like other people had harm because of what I did. But I mean, it's like breaking.
Did you ever burn down a field?
I did. I did.
We're same here.
Oh, I did too.
Is that the name of the podcast now? Are we the field burners?
I burned down a field.
Kids who burn fields.
I burned down a field. Yeah. Yep.
I'm okay.
Started a little fire that got way out of control, and then we took off. Came back 2 hours later, and the whole field was burned down, and we come rolling up on bikes, going like, "What happened here?" And we totally torched the whole thing.
I burned down a field because there were a bunch of dead Christmas trees on it. And we made a fort out of the dead Christmas trees, and then we decided to light it on fire, and it burnt like way too quick, and so we all ran.
Oh, those things you're like, soup. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this guy came up to us, and he was like, "Did you guys do that? What was going on?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I saw this kid in a red hat, and he just lit it on fire, and we ran." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go find that kid for you or something."
Was that kid wearing a MAGA hat?
Way ahead of time, yeah.
Way ahead of time.
Like mine was in like some subdivision that they were building, but decided to stop, so only the streets were there, and then it was just fields everywhere else. It's just high, tall grass, but with subdivision streets everywhere. And so like we were just addicted to seeing things burn because we were kids and little pyromaniacs, and so we had these gasoline. We filled up a container of gasoline and drove it over there. Kids, as in people who could still drive 16.
I think mine was like matches and stuff, and you're like a felon to me compared to what I did.
Well, we were like pouring it on the concrete, and we're like, watch it burn. Yeah, that's cool. And then we're threw the whole canister in there, and then it started spreading to the sides and hitting the grass, and we're like, we're out. And we just left. I'm not sure exactly what the results were afterwards, but I know it couldn't have been good.
Oh, you never came back?
No, wow. I don't think I ever went back. I just knew I saw destruction happening, and I was like, we need to get out of here. And we just left. That was so stupid.
That's pretty dumb. That's funny, though.
I'm sorry.
I can't believe you didn't go back. I mean, I was an idiot and came back like 2 hours later check on the situation.
It was right outside my house. I could just look out my window and see the fire truck.
Oh, this was nowhere near where I lived. I mean, it was a good 20, 30-minute drive, so it was all right. It was okay. That reminds me of that.
I think
Go ahead.
I had stopped burning down fields by the time I got a driver's license, so I got that out.
I'm glad.
Speaking of, another game that's on my backlog is Firewatch. I really want to play that. But I
love Firewatch.
It's like right down my alley. I just haven't played it yet.
That actually was what I've been thinking. I'm like, the kind of game I want to play right now is something like Firewatch. Like, I just kind of want something story driven, something pretty short. I don't want to have to play a game where it's like I have to get good. I can kind of.
Have you played good? You have to be good to play it? Yeah. No, like
no. Because there's a lot. There's a lot of technical precision in a lot of games we play. And in certain ones, it's like I want an easy mode, but then focuses on other stuff. Which actually, the game is probably Outer Wilds, because it's getting good, but in a different way.
Or if you want something where you don't have to be good at all and you just learn about story, you could play Her Story.
I knew you were going to mention that. You've been pushing Her Story for years.
Because nobody's played it but me.
How long does Her Story take?
I know.
I don't know. Let me look real quick to see how much time I invested in that game.
I just don't want to play a Windows 95 game,
It is very Windows 95. But...
Well, actually, isn't the loading of the game when you're playing, you're on a desktop that is like Windows 95?
Yes. So
yeah,
I played the game for 12 hours total, and I got all the achievements.
Okay, so I'm talking about like minus achievements and typical regular playthrough.
Probably half that, I'm guessing.
6 hours?
Probably. Casual, probably 6 to 10. Probably 6.
6, okay.
Maybe
we could play that. I just don't... I might be able to invest 6 hours this week to go through.
I don't know if that's good. Well, I don't know if we should play Her Story, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I like the game a lot, but I don't know if it's up both of your guys' alley. I think eventually I want you to play it just to get that experience of that type of game, because it's really unique. But I don't know. I have Ghost of Tsushima on my PS4 right now.
Well, that's because your nephew bought it, right?
Yeah, so I could just start playing that.
If you play that, maybe I'll be more encouraged to play it more and finish.
I don't want to beat it right away.
That means I have to play it, and I was gonna hold off on that one, but I guess I can throw it in the mix.
I mean, it would be nice because then I wouldn't have to ignore that game as much. But
I mean, if you'll play, will you put more than 20 minutes into it? If we play it, Mark?
This week, more than 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I might dedicate a day to it.
More than Baba Is You.
Oh yeah. More than Baba Is You. Absolutely. I would absolutely do that. I want to I didn't understand how the game would play, because after playing The Last of Us, it's very linear, right? You just kind of go through. I mean, you can go into houses and you can do little things, but you're pretty much led through the game. Ghost of Tsushima is more like a little bit more open world than I thought.
Way more open world, yeah.
And so I didn't know that I was going to have to make choices of what I was going to do, and then explore a map, and then go to certain locations and say, oh, well, there's a question mark here. Let me see what's here. Or chase foxes for shrines and stuff. I mean, I didn't know that was going to be part of it. So I didn't know if I was ready for that. But I still enjoy it, and I still want to sit down and go through it. I think I understand how I should play it now to enjoy it, so I can go through it a little bit easier than I was before.
How many hours have you put into it so far?
5, 6-ish hours, not a lot. Okay. I mean...
I was just talking to someone earlier today who... probably the same level kind of gamers that we are, and excited for Ghosts, like even took it off from work to like play it. And
I think you were saying about that, yeah. And then he beat it almost immediately after it came out.
Yeah, and he hated it for the first 8 hours, and then he told me, then he got into a groove and realized, oh, now, because he's like, I hate the story, I'm not into the mechanics. He like wasn't into any of it, and then after about 8 hours, somehow something clicked for me. It's like, oh, now I kind of see what they're doing and what's really happening, and I got really into it. So Nick, how far did Dylan play before he like bounced?
No, he had to have put probably around 16 or so hours into it at least. And
Oh.
That's
to
strange.
him, he didn't mind the story. He just didn't want to do the same thing. It got stale for him. He felt like he really understood all the fighting with it. He went the samurai style, which I probably would if I played it too. I just don't want to do another sneak game.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I did all of the shrines in the area. I moved on to Act 2, and I think there's 3 acts. He's like, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm not really motivated to beat the game because I'm not really that invested into the story.
I mean, I think it might be one of those games to where if you play it constantly for hours, like all day, then go to sleep, wake up next day, play it all day, it's something that might be a little bit tiring because it's just repetitive. You're doing the exact same thing over and over again. But I mean, if you separate it out,
the first 3 days,
yeah.
I think well, it's funny though. I'm curious how the mechanics are going to play out because there's something like when I played Sekiro, it's repetitive.
I don't think it's nearly like Sekiro, but
no. But actually, that's not a good comparison. Spider-Man. You will learn there are aspects to Spider-Man that are repetitive as hell. However, I don't know what it was. It's so satisfying, and it's so like it was so much fun to just I don't know, but. I think maybe the mechanics of Spider-Man were so much more satisfying that allowed you to keep doing certain repetitive aspects, whereas in maybe
I think
in
that
this version,
it's repetitive, but in Spider-Man there's still a decent amount of variety of like types of ways that you can play, and like different types of things that you could do. Like you can get the backpacks, or you can get the pictures, or you can do the bases, or you can do you don't have to do everything in the game. You could just do it if you want.
That's fair. If you just do story version and you're pushing through the story, then the game probably isn't nearly as repetitive. But if you're like, that's one of the few games I'm like, oh, I'm 100%ing this. And there's chunks that are hugely repetitive to get certain achievements.
Absolutely. And I wish I would have read the achievements for that game before I would have started getting them all, because I thought that you had to like get perfects in every single base, and you had to like get gold in every single challenge and stuff. And you don't. So I spent a lot of time like getting like the best scores and everything.
Yeah,
and
I did the same thing. Yeah. Well, actually, it's one of the few games I got all the golds, but not even because of the achievement. I just love the challenges so much. You're like, I can do this. I can absolutely do this. Like
and I found myself in that game. Like I would do a challenge where you have to swing from one destination to the next and go through hoops. And I would do it and just barely pass it and get like a bronze. And I'd be like, there's no way that you can ever get gold in this. This is not possible. And then like 2 hours later, I get gold, and I'm like, wow, I just didn't think that was possible. And I did it.
Yeah. You don't realize how good you get.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's up to you, Mark. So it sounds like you want us to play Ghosts. That'll satisfy your schedule.
Sure. That'd
your
be
lifetime.
Great for me.
Yeah. You know, I just want you to put more time than Baba is you.
Oh, I've already done that. So I think I can do that this week. I think I can, because I do enjoy it. When I'm playing it, I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm going through this old samurai movie story, and it's kind of cheesy in its own way, but I'm okay with that. You know, how many samurai movies have I watched recently? Like, it's not going to really hinder me to just kind of absorb myself into it. And then like the gameplay, you know, some of it I'm like, I die and I get kind of mad. I'm like, this is kind of stupid. But it's not like I died because it's hard. It's just because I haven't figured out how to do it properly yet. Like I haven't really gotten it down. So I think 100% I will be playing it a lot more this week. If you guys put some time into it, I'll definitely put some time into it.
I'll pick it up. I don't want to sacrifice Outer Wilds too, so I'm gonna have to play both. And also, I want to continue with Baba, so I'm kind of playing 3 games at once now.
That's all right.
Mark, all right. I'm happy to give you ghost time. I don't care what he says.
I'll do it.
Just don't ghost me.
No. Okay. Well, you'll be able to find me. I can't leave the house, so.
Oh, depression.
I know you so well.
It's such a
Hello,
fun
darkness, my old friend.
now. I don't know. Why is an Orpheon holding a weird musical instrument? I don't know. Is that something that is related to
Is that a
Orpheon?
mythical legend or something? What is the legend of Orpheon?
Is
The
that just a
Legend of
name you
Orpheon.
made up and it has
Oh,
meaning
I
or
didn't know if it
what?
was a mythical. I thought it was like had mythical backgrounds.
No, that's just a random one I made up when, dude, you and I were in the car when we were like
Oh,
teenagers.
really? It sounds like
Um,
ancient.
okay, so it's very similar to, I think there's Orpheus, and there's a
Orpheus
couple
and
different.
Don't Look
Um,
Behind You.
yep. So it does connect similarly to a couple Greek myth characters. So
No, there is an Orpheon mythology.
I think
What is
I,
it?
I
you've
must,
lied. You've lied to us. You didn't just think of this. You found it somewhere.
no, it's that is.
Hold on. I'm looking at
Okay, so the origin of my name,
Uh-huh.
is just, it's the stupidest style.
It's a
Is we
musical
were
instrument
Nick
for
and I,
iPad that I
that
found.
sure is that, yeah. That Nick and I were driving in a car when we were like 19, and he just asked me the question. He goes, "If you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be?" And I just immediately was like, "Orpheon, done." And it just kind of stuck. And when I was 19, and that was like right in the end, we started like creating handles for stuff, and so I just went with Orpheon, and it just kind of stuck. But yeah, it's not like any weird, no, not a good
Okay.
origin story.
Okay.
No, so it's nothing that I pulled from, and I wasn't even reading Greek mythology that era, so I wasn't even sort of like osmosisly pulling it out in the sphere of stuff I was reading and kind of changing the names.
It kind of just happened. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
exactly, it just happened.
For example,
But
my wife, of course, making her name Kerberos, which I had no clue what that really was, and I don't think she did either until I got
yeah,
into learning more about
yep,
security, and it's all over the fucking
yep.
place. So I just see her
It's
handle it.
all over the fucking place. That's why I never make a joke. I never make a container joke with her about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Kerberos is place.
Yeah. All right. I think it's about time
Yeah.
that we start wrapping up
Well, you
because
gotta
I have
walk
to
the
get to
dogs,
my
right?
animals and everything. And I'm glad we
Yes,
have
it's
a
9 o'clock.
goal a little bit again for the week. It's nice to have a little goal of something. I do want to get in Outer Wilds too. I just don't think I'd have the time to fully appreciate it until I'm done with school, which is I'm 2.5 weeks from doing. So
Yeah.
then I'll be done with that. Then I have a 7-hour Mog Talk that I'm going to do at the beginning of September. And I need to plan all the way out because then I'm bringing that back for episode 200.
Whoa. Wait, you stopped at 199?
Yeah.
What a tease. Dang. What a tease.
Yeah. And yeah, it's done. So no more school, no more. All it is just me trying to find a better job that actually is in security and not just system administration. That I would be more interested in doing because I'm so tired of what I'm doing right now.
Well, sysadmin is good. It's a good starting block.
Well, I'm like,
But
it doesn't have
it's-
enough of the sysadmin in there because I get tasked with configuring stupid products that don't work and they're broken that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that I have to now make work
Yep.
and implement into their system. It's stupid. It's real stupid.
Actually, so in fairness to you, from a security point of view, once you are actually trying to figure out how the systems are implemented and in your environments and how they're put together, you have to start understanding your environment really well. So from a security point of view, you actually
have to understand all
you'll
the
have
programs.
higher level knowledge to start putting it together. So when you're working in an environment and someone comes to you and it's like, hey, we want to put this thing in, as like, you can come ahead of time, you're like, well, we need to do this, this, and this, and this, and this during your project planning phase so that you can implement it securely, as opposed to like, it's ready to go live. And you're like, you're about to do some huge mistakes.
Yeah.
So don't discount your stupid config frustrations because you might be getting more knowledge from it than you think. So
I do understand. Yeah, that
the answer
point.
is
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You are. I know you're dealing with pain, and the fact that you're probably hating it means you're probably learning more than you think. Because unfortunately, what is it?
I am learning a lot.
Yeah.
That I didn't think that I would have to learn. I've learned how to find bugs in software very well now. Very well. I'm good at finding them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But anyways, I guess this is the first
Yeah.
time we did this live, and we actually recorded it out there for just a couple people to come and view. And I know, a couple people that come by and view, so I appreciate anyone. This is really nothing. I don't know what the fuck this is besides us just wanting to talk to each other, to be honest with you. We don't really have a solid structure.
That's all I want.
That's all I want. You're my favorite gamer friends to chat with. So,
I mean, I guess the most of the theme of this show or this podcast or this thing that we're doing is just discussing the video games and stuff that we did throughout the week and trying to, keep each other sane in some fashion. And that's really the basis of it. I can't think. And now I'm a little bit more attached with Friends with Backlog. I think I'll stick with it. I'll go with it. Yeah. I think that it works fine. And I mean, because we have, like you said, quarantine has really brought out the need to go back through a backlog of stuff that we have left abandoned due to it's so many things that we've been rushing to do every day when quarantine wasn't there and we were just letting things kind of fall behind. We can see it a little bit because we just have the time to do it. So there's that one interesting aspect to it, is that like everyone kind of stopped for a moment, and we're not like that busy, crazy, intense going forward every second because we have to stop.
Well, yeah, and there's this weird thing in quarantine where a Friday night will happen, and you're not like, well, shit, I usually would like to be going out, going to an event, do something, and instead you're like, I'm stuck at home, and now it's just really like, well, I'm stuck at home. You don't have, if you are stuck at home, you don't have to feel like a loser, like, I want to go out and do something, but I'm stuck at home on a Friday night. But now you can be like, I'm stuck at home and I'm kind of have to.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, that's where games came in, because I haven't played as many games in the last handful of years because, I've been really busy with everything. And then it got to the point like, I can't read as much anymore. And I don't want to do anything. And I watch a lot of movies. I was like, I don't care as much. And it's like video games kind of saved my mind. So like, I just need something that makes me interact with it so I can sort of start forgetting and forget like kind of the place that we're all stuck in.
Yeah. I completely understand. It's
like, and like I joke, Spider-Man was like perfect time. Like, this is what I needed. My God, did I need this right now? Because my first quarantine game was Resident Evil 1, and that was a shit show of a game. So, but luckily that was short and quick.
Well, I'll wrap this up, and then
anyway,
I'll put this on YouTube too, and I'll throw it on my little podcast thing that sends it out to my RSS feed, SSSR something feed. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll send it out to
iTunes
feed and everywhere else too, and whoever wants to listen can listen to it. But
Cool.
I'm happy with it, and I'm looking forward to next week too. Do you guys want to say anything to the couple of people who came by before we go off the air?
Unless anyone made a comment, I would have no idea what to say. Anyone saying
your name.
Sorry if I bored you.
The weird instrument thing was the one in the comments.
Yeah, Mari schooled you.
Yeah.
Brought out a whole wiki.
Yeah, brought the whole wiki about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you get.
There's a whole wiki on the instrument? Okay, cool.
Orpheon.
On Orpheon, yeah. But
nice.
Yeah. All right, well then let's go ahead and I'm going to wrap it up and turn off the stream. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be here with Cammy and Orpheon for a second afterwards, but yeah. Bye guys. Do this. Wait and say bye. Bye.
Hey.